It's hot in here. It's hot.
We call the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. First item is roll call. Nelson. Here. Michael Kane.
Here.
Sue Sutherland.
Here.
Robert Tarbox.
Here.
Steve Luchek.
Here.
Kevin Fitzpaul.
Here.
Everyone's present, so we have a quorum. First item on the agenda is a public hearing for REG 822-01 data center moratorium text amendments. Briefly go over the.
So as you all know, Governor Vermont signed a bill in March 2021 to offer tax incentives to certain data center developments. The bill requires owners and operators of qualified data centers to enter into a host municipality fee agreement before beginning project. Groton has one such agreement with Space Data Partners for land on Route 117 north of I-95. As part of those negotiations, the zoning official was asked to determine whether or not data centers are in allowed use, and he determined that they are considered telecommunication facilities and are conditionally allowed in the zones. So tonight's application proposes to define data centers, to amend the definition of telecommunication facilities to exclude data centers, and to impose a moratorium on data center applications to provide time to consider, develop, and adopt zoning regulations to address data centers. The draft text in the application defines data center as a facility that is developed, acquired, constructed, rehabilitated, renovated, repaired, or operated to house a group of networked computer servers in one physical location or multiple contiguous locations to centralize the storage, management, processing, and dissemination of data and information pertaining to a particular business or classification or body of knowledge. So in order to limit the impact to businesses and government operations that use computers and servers as part of their operations, the zoning officials recommended that the definition state that data centers are larger than 5,000 square feet. So if adopted, this moratorium will be in place for 12 months from the effective date that you set. And as you know, the Horsley Witten Group has already been engaged to start developing data center regulations and start talking to you about your thoughts about whether data centers should be allowed at all. The commission has received a number of comments from the public regarding the text amendment. All are in favor of the moratorium. One suggests defining a data center as being greater than 100,000 square feet. In addition to the ones that you've received yesterday and today, there were also two more that came in after hours, and those are printed out there in front of you. The Council of Governments found that there's no negative intermunicipal impact from this text amendment, and Department of Environmental Protection, Energy and Environmental Protection found that the text is consistent with the Connecticut Coastal Management Act. All I got.
Okay, thank you. So we'll open up first to see if there are any public comments, and then follow up to the commission. See if they have any comments. Does anyone in the public wish to address the commission tonight on the subject? Take
Hearing?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, before we start, trying to rush things along. Yeah. Before, we need to read the notice, if you'll do that.
Oh, I can wait.
Notice is hereby given that the following public hearing will be held on Tuesday, June 14th, 2022 at 7 p.m. virtually via Zoom platform. Here the following. Zoning regulation amendment RDG 822-01, text amendment to 1. Add new data center and modified telecommunication facility definition. Section 2. And section 11 moratorium. And 3. And new section 11.1 temporary moratorium on data centers to last 12 months from the effective date of the moratorium. Town of Groton Planning and Zoning Commission applicant. The Zoom meeting link will be posted to the town's website, meetings calendar, or can be attended by visiting www.zoom.us. Number 928-9150-436365, password 292-531, or by phone 1-301-715-8592. Applications are on file and available for public inspection during normal business hours. The planning department will be for Groton 1 Point Road, Groton, Connecticut 06340. The office of the Groton Town Clerk, 25 Fort Hill Road, Groton, Connecticut. Proposed draft zoning regulations can also be viewed at https://www.grotonct.gov/departments/plan-dev/pending-apps.php. All persons having interest in the applications are invited to attend, comment, and provide testimony and evidence. It is Thursday, June 2022.
Okay, if you want.
If I could first ask each one of you to speak into your speaker, because I have a hearing issue and at the back of the room, it will come in clearer. My name is Sydney F. Van Zandt, statement June 14th to the Planning Commission. I am one of the founders of Groton Open Space Association in 1967, now vice president, though now not representing GOSA for this hearing. Thank you for putting together a moratorium on these huge data centers. I support it totally. The main concern with a giant project like this is water. The runoff will do damage to our reservoir, our drinking water, Groton's most valuable resource, as well as saltwater estuaries that run into Long Island Sound. Storm water runoff of a data center roof and pavement or any other giant facility indicates that these developments were estimated to measure 14 acres, would generate 510,000 gallons of storm water runoff with 1 inch of rain, according to the Save the Sound attached sheet, which I'll give you. When it rains, pollution pours is the title. A major complaint I have had on these two projects is they have been run through almost in secret. I have attached a public information meeting announcement for Gales Ferry to use as an example. Nothing was done, particularly for the 117 project. None of the abutters nor the public were informed. And what's more, I stood there and looked down at the reservoir where that stream from the Candlewood Hill Wildlife Management Area would have dumped into that road that would have been run into, totally covered in that Downs Patterson. Attached, I have when it rains, pollution pours, a sample of the public information meeting announcement, an image of New Albany, data center. The statement from James Kramer, PhD, Avery Point, impact reaches the tipping point. And to Richard Stevens, General Manager, Water Division from Carl F. Asimovic, PE, dated November 6, 2003. And my conversation with him a few months ago, he says it still applies. I am giving this to you. Thank you for developing this plan. It's given me a giant headache and it's gonna be worse. So here you go. Just want to go to you.
It goes to staff.
Over here. Right.
And the staff will disseminate. Someone else wish to address? Yes. State your name and address, please.
Paula McDougall, 464 Flanders Road in Mystic. I'm not going to read my whole thing. I spoke through Zoom. I was in California at your April 12th meeting. You had my correspondence then. So I'll just kind of paraphrase to save everybody time and just so you guys kind of know where I'm coming from. Also, my house is directly across the street, so I might be biased, but I think there are a lot of facts that support the fact that this has nothing to do with bias and that it's going to be across the street from my house. Data centers are important, they're needed, but they are new. And since they're new, I don't know who came up with the idea to classify them as light industrial. And besides, also thank God for them and that particular piece of property, which has all these environmental issues. In general, I think that and I'm glad with them, I'm fully support the moratorium, and I'm glad you're going to think about it, because I really think that you need to think about how they should be classified. I looked up, as you have in front of you, a bunch of different definitions of light industrial, which you kind of didn't have to do, because if you just look at all the light industrial pieces that we have in Norwich, East Lyme, Groton, you know, they're small businesses, they're one-story buildings, they don't run 24/7. So it's just, I think data centers need to be evaluated as to what they really are. The enormous amount of energy that they use, and what really scares me, because the developers, they come and talk to us, they seem like they're trying to be very helpful. They're going to set it back. They're going to lower this 60-foot building. They're going to leave a buffer. They seem like they want to do all the things that are right. But one of the things that they can't answer, and which they found out in Wallingford, is that they really don't know what this noise factor is going to be. And they don't really know, as they said in Wallingford, if it can really ever be addressed to really cut down the noise factor for the neighborhood. So there is a lot to look at. We need to take in those conservation ideas, and I think you need to, just take in all the information that you can get. There were several people. Genevieve Carr spoke at one of your meetings. I think her last name was Carr, and she has a PhD in electrical engineering, has worked in data centers, and she said, these should never be near residential areas. So I appreciate the moratorium, and I hope you take everyone's ideas of all the facts that you can gather to try to figure out what little niche that data centers should fit into as far as zoning regulations. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to address this? Yes. Just for information, tonight, all we're trying to address is the moratorium. And then we'd have to address the actual changes that would be put in place later to implement any new regulations.
I'll try to constrain my comments to that narrow band. My name is Ian Thomas. I'm 24 Jefferson Drive in Groton. I'd like to express my support for the moratorium and urge the commission to take all the time and use all the resources possible to ensure whatever the decision may be, that it's well researched, well reasoned, and responsive to the citizens and the community concerns. Also, I have heard that in regards to the God space situation, that there may have been a termination of that deal from the landowner's side. So you may want to look into that. So if there's any concern about what a moratorium may have on what effect a moratorium may have on that deal, the legal concerns, I believe that deal may be dead. So you might want to check with the town manager on that. And, you know, one of the things that was concerning and was the zoning officials ruling and as light industrial. So I think, you know, as part of this process, it may be an opportunity also to reconsider how policies and procedures work here. And I would encourage, you know, making that an agenda item sometime in the future to find a way to rewrite regulations and policies so that zoning official comes here and is in regular communication with this body, since he's acting as your agent in the community. So that's pretty much all I have. So I encourage you to take all the time, you know, and do the moratorium and do your research. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address this? Yes. if you want.
Hi, my name is Genevieve Surf. I live at 6 Pearl Street in Mystic. And where to start tonight? Really hard. I guess I could start with the last part, which is the cannabis part. I'm a child of the 60s, so of course I've tried it, but I don't understand how the state allowed for this to become a commercial venture in our state. I happen to think it's not really good for kids. It's not going to be good for the town. It's good for keeping people out of jail if they've only caught with a tiny amount of it, but it's certainly not, I don't think it's going to be good for the town to have commercial establishment, but that's going to be your issue. My second issue, of course, is the data centers. And I've thought about this long and hard, and I know that we have a lot of data centers in town already, small ones. I have one in my own house. I must have at least 6 computers, but I don't have any diesel generators to run them when when we're at peak electricity. This is what I found the most offensive about the data center presentation, is that in order to save money in the summertime when it's the hottest and the most humid and the most difficult for everyone to breathe, period, that is when they would crank up their generators in order to save money from having to use the Groton Utilities electricity or Eversource, whoever it turns out to be. At the expense, of course, of polluting our atmosphere. Diesel fumes have been shown to be some of the most toxic in all of our fossil fuels, and especially for children, which is why I always wondered why we're still running our school buses on diesel. Diesel is really unhealthy. And so I thought to myself, at the very least, if we're going to have data centers, we should have small ones, obviously, and we should have some that don't require and don't use diesel generators unless there's a complete electricity outage in the area. So if we have a hurricane or whatever, and these data centers are running essential services, which are, you know, required, then fine, you know, let them use their backup generators for a few days until the electricity comes back. But at no point, certainly in these areas where they're planned for now, which are, you know, one is on one side, it's 117 and the Marriott Hotel on the Reservoir, and on the other side, it's all these residential homes. At no point should diesel generators be used just to save electricity for these giant companies. And you are aware, of course, if you haven't read the article yet, that these people who come and sell us these plans, like Mr. Quinn and company, are basically fronts for these huge data utilizing companies like Amazon and Google and Microsoft and God only, and Wall Street. God only knows how many there are now. And they come into town, it's very nicely documented now, just to get giant tax abatements for the, you know, the multi-million-dollar buildings that they're going to build, as if they needed the millions of dollars. They do not need the millions of dollars. So, you know, allowing them to come in, pollute our town, and get tax abatement really adds insult to injury, I think. So I would really, you know, I think the moratorium idea is a great one, and I think you need very, very careful regulation, and you need to limit their size And you certainly need to outlaw any kind of pollution, any kind of overuse of our water resources, or, sending their runoff into our water resources, because in these locations, they go right into the reservoir and into the sheep farm, and certainly limit the diesel generators. My final point is about the short-term rentals, and you probably already heard a ton about it, but I know it's going to come up at the workshop tomorrow. One of the things that I would have very much liked to have seen is, as in the case of the data centers, where we actually had a public input session before it all came to you with the consultants and everything else. There was a public input session. There has not been a public input session for short-term rentals.
Can we
Aside from
limit
those
the
of us-
discussion
Want me to
just
wrap it
to
up?
the, oh,
There has not been.
because this is not public
You're planning one?
communications. Right, we have,
I'm a little deaf, so
later in the agenda, we have,
later in the agenda. Okay,
we
I
have
just want to
public
say two
communications.
really quick things about short-term rentals, because I live next to one. The one I live next to is a slumlord in at least 4 states. My friend Katie Pratt has documented this rather astonishingly, and I'm going to send you that information. The other thing is the enforcement problem. It's very hard to enforce whatever it is you're going to try to put in place, even if you try to be generous with owner-occupied short-term rentals.
We're only
So I would
addressing,
really consider that, especially since enforcement will have to take place on weekends
Genevieve,
in the summertime. So nobody wants to go enforce stuff like this on the weekends, and sometimes it's not going to be enforced. So please take that into consideration. Thank you.
does anyone else wish to address us tonight regarding the moratorium?
Douglas Schwartz, 420 Long Hill. I'm not going to talk about the environmental issues, just about money. Connecticut's the oldest constitutional democracy in the world since 1639. We've been self-governing. And because of that, we elected when we were a colony, we elected our governor. We were the only one of the 13 colonies. And we immediately sided with the Americans at the start of the revolution. And in our Constitution, right at the beginning, Article 1st, Section 1, no man or a set of men are entitled to exclusive public emoluments or privileges from the community, which is precisely what we have here. That was with the tax break, the statewide tax break. That clause was put in our Constitution to prevent exactly this thing. But Hartford, as you might notice, is a swamp. And from what I can gather, around 20 states have the same tax break for these data centers. And as Jen said, the largest corporations in the world, owned by some of the wealthiest billionaires in the world, are the ones who these are ultimately for. So I would urge you to put in the moratorium and go a step further and just ban them outright based on our Constitution, which Hartford ignores repeatedly. The comments from Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments that it would not have any negative repercussions, which is correct. A moratorium would not have any negative repercussions. And as a matter of fact, it would have a very positive repercussion because these things are huge energy gobblers. And to allow them to come in when the grid is a zero-sum affair, basically, and we know that we already have the highest electric rates in the country. We know that they're going to be going up substantially because of the cost of fuel, which we are experiencing. And when offshore wind kicks in, that's a very expensive generating method. So because it's a zero-sum affair and the grids are already stretched to their limits, if they come in and eat up a big part of the energy that's out there, it's a huge tax on everybody else. So it's a very positive thing to have a moratorium. The zoning officials' comments, I got a couple of points. The first one is positive, the second is negative. He recommends that you define the square footage, whatever you come out to for the square footage collectively, because otherwise you're going to get segmentation where they'll build a unit right under the limit And then they'll build another unit and all that. So somehow you're gonna have to define what, I would urge you to define what collectively means. But the negative comment, he talks about the moratorium would prohibit rehabilitation and refurbishing of apparently of existing data centers. I don't know if this will apply in the city or not, but certainly EB and Pfizer must have massive data centers already. And these things are constantly under repair. They're constantly swapping out new servers with better technology. They're replacing components in existing servers. And as Jen pointed out, it's going to be tricky to define this, but she said 6 computers. I counted, I think I've got 8, some of which work. But any computer really could be defined, that's connected to the internet, could be confined as a data center. So maybe you might want to leave an out in there for pre-existing uses. And my last point is an observation that Juvenal, the Roman author, made about 2 millennia ago. Ex custodia ipsos custodes. Who will guard the guardians? Well, the people we elect and pay up in Hartford don't care about our Constitution, so it's up to the public. The public is always the one who enforces the public's will. And when they're not doing it in Hartford, it's up to us at this level to shortstop it and just deny it on one basis alone. That's unconstitutional. It's a clear violation of our Constitution.
Anyone else wish to address us? Just regarding the moratorium, not the application of a data center.
Don't worry.
That comes later.
Kristen Earls, 144 Brook Street. Thanks to the chairman, commission members, and town staff just for this opportunity to publicly express support and appreciation for the moratorium. No recommendations specifically, just want to state for the public record. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to develop a considered position regarding this very complex industrial use with impacts on neighbors, community health, well-being, air, water, wildlife, energy, and economics. The commission's judgment in taking the time to develop an informed regulatory position. We hope that you'll move quickly to enact it.
Anyone else? You have a couple of hands raised. Oh, I meant on the, oh, go ahead if you want.
Dana will be at 68 Front Street. I'm going to be you. I'm sorry.
You want to go over there to the podium?
Okay. Dana will be at 68 Front Street. I'm going to be your most uninspiring, but your favorite speaker tonight. I'm totally in favor of the moratorium for all the reasons that my previous colleagues have said. Thanks.
All right. We have no one else.
Raise that.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I just want to report to you, your audio system is very scratchy and a little bit garbled from time to time. Somebody should look into it. I will summarize my remarks. I sent.
Address, please, for the record.
My name is Elizabeth Liz Raisbeck. I live at 81 Main Street in Groton, and I'm speaking this evening as chair of co-chair of Groton Conservation. We are speaking today in very much in favor of a moratorium on any application for data centers in Groton. When the state legislature passed the fast tracking legislation for data centers, they also said they were going to pass legislation that would provide environmental protections for towns, which they never did. So you all and all the towns of Connecticut are on your own. There are many serious public health issues as well as environmental issues related to data centers, which we have learned about over the last several months. And because of the complexity of the issues that these data centers present, it's very important that you pass a moratorium. And we strongly support a 1-year moratorium because it's going to take you a while to figure this out. You're going to need to bring in a number of experts, in our view, to speak to you about noise pollution, air pollution from generators, et cetera, et cetera. So furthermore, we also want to express our opposition to exempting data centers of 100,000 square feet or less. That's a huge building, and a data center that size is likely to bring with it virtually all the problems that bigger ones bring. If it doesn't have diesel generators, that would be a little better, but it's still going to have issues of noise and impact on the environment. So we think that the best approach is to exempt existing data centers only. As soon as you try to find a number of square feet that would be exempted, I think you'll find that it gets squishy very fast, and that clever entrepreneurs will figure out ways around those restrictions. So finally, I want to suggest that if you finalize the moratorium, and I hope you do, that you invite a public conversation about what to do. Rather, our traditional system of having the public come before our government bodies and speak without any back and forth is not really terribly helpful. I think it would be great if you had some experts in that you had a conversation with, that you asked them questions, and as well as members of the public who have some specific thoughts and suggestions about this. So thank you very much for all the work that you do on behalf of Groton, and we appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Michelle Green.
Good evening. Thank you very much for hearing my comments. They'll be very quick. I just wanted to voice my name's Michelle Green. I live at 450 Flanders Road in Mystic. I just wanted to voice my support for the moratorium. And I would have had more comments, but you said this isn't about commenting about what we believe or would like to see in the moratorium. So I guess I'll just reiterate that my support for just a quick note that I agree with Paul McDougall's message and the conservation organization's messages. And I've submitted my own comments regarding data centers previously, but I appreciate you taking the time and taking the step to put a moratorium and effectually protecting the town of Groton. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If we have no one else, we can open it up to the commissioners. I'll start with you, Hal. Do you have any comments, concerns, questions on the moratorium?
No, I think that of course, I'm going to come up with some of the things to put in there, but that we can discuss over the next year. So
Yeah, this is really the same. Start. Mike, do you have any?
I guess, I have this draft motion and I just,
Oh, we're not talking, this is just for the public. hearing.
oh, you know, I don't have any questions at this point.
I mean, yeah, we can debate
Okay,
the motion.
so that's fine.
After we close the public hearing.
You've
It's
got
just as
no
we have
questions?
enough information. Make a decision. Sue, do you,
I'm all set. Thank you very much.
Barbara?
Yes, I appreciate the comments, and I'm also looking at the amendment to the proposed definition of the,
No, we're not.
I know we're not, but that's
Right.
part of the text amendment that we are talking about.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we're just talking about the hearing. We didn't talk about the motion later. Evan, do you have any?
So I have no questions about the public hearing. I have a tremendous amount of concerns I'll express at tomorrow's workshop. This is my business. And I have no questions on the public hearing, Chair.
Dave, do you have any?
Just a clarification. Is it just, you're voting tonight just on the ban? On the
No,
moratorium?
right now, we have a public hearing to get any information we need. So we can close the public hearing, and then we have a motion that we want to address.
But the motion is going to,
So, right,
Yeah,
this
the motion
application is
would
for a text amendment,
Be the
that's
text
correct,
amendment.
which puts in place a moratorium as well as defining data centers and modifying the definition of telecommunication facilities.
That was my understanding.
That's it.
Defining data centers is just right here.
That's the
Right.
application.
Right.
That's correct.
Yeah, so we need to have more.
Right,
Does not preclude further definitions.
No, it doesn't.
for
We're not,
now, for tonight,
That's right.
no, for the purpose of public hearing, we're not
that's right.
debating the actual
Nope.
text. So if no one else has any concerns, then we can hold the, is there any reason to hold the public hearing open?
You all need more information regarding the text amendment application.
We do not.
I'll make a motion then to close the public hearing.
I would second that.
Moved and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, then we'll vote on the motion to close the public hearing. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion is carried unanimously. The next item is consideration of the public hearing. And that, we have a proposed motion. Not sure everybody's seen that. I'll go around and see if anyone has any concerns. Now, this proposed motion is to implement the text that was submitted in REGA 2201 with an addition of the
Mr. Chairman, you want to push
Official
on your
one,
button so that they can hear you better on there. There you go.
Right. So it's we're talking the actual text that was presented on REGA 2201. And there's a modification that was suggested by the zoning official, which is put into the motion that was sent out to everybody this afternoon.
Yeah.
So that's what we want to talk about is the proposed motion before making it. I just might as well get all, if there are any issues or changes rather than trying to go through a lot of amendments. So I'll start with you, Hal.
As I say, I think I'm okay with this the way it is, since this is just an initial salvo to put the brakes on. And we can keep working on it. I mean, at some point, personally, I'd like to see power generation as being a separate thing. Since in the case of the one that failed, it was going to have power generator exceeding the sub-base's power generation. So this is why that was in there, to me, sounds like a separate thing. But it doesn't matter, as long as we're putting the brakes on it within this.
I think that's what we have to talk about tomorrow at our workshop. That's one of the big issues.
That's why I'm saying this is a little hollow, but it puts the brakes on.
All this is to apply the brake pressure.
This taps the brakes, and that's what we need.
All we're talking about right now. Mike, do you have any?
I guess, yeah, I got a couple of questions. Thanks. This is gonna be added as a definition to our zoning regs.
Or, yes,
Okay, so,
well, this is for purposes of putting the moratorium on. We have to.
well, but no, this definition, right? This definition is gonna be added to our zoning regs.
Yes.
What a data
Yes.
center.
That is correct.
So that we can have the moratorium.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
explains-
well, we don't have a definition right now, correct? So, okay, so that I understand. And then this, okay, so we need a period at the end. And then, well, just a little thing, because I noticed it. And so we're working with this one, the one that came out today.
No, black and white one.
That
That
says
is
the 5,000
a
feet.
draft motion, that's
Gotcha.
correct.
And
The microphone's on because only about half of us
Mine
are
is.
hearing over here.
There are,
Any way to turn them up a bit?
no, but I will,
You guys are a couple of feet away from your microphone, so
how's that?
and I will also point out for those who do have a hearing problem, there are some things up here that can supplement it if you want, that you can wear.
I'll try the technology.
So, where did 5,000 feet, so I understand where that came from, but, what is, so like when we make this definition, what does a data center, which is, do we have a definition or do we need one for things that are less than 5,000 feet?
No,
Or are we just, those are gonna be undefined?
they can submit, well, this is saying you can't, we will not accept a submittal for an application for a data center.
Yes, no, I get that, I understand.
This means we could have a facility, dedicated facility, less than 5,000 feet. We can't accept that. It's what this,
Okay. I guess it's just that when we define this thing, then it, to me, in my mind, I think, so then what? So now you've defined anything greater than 5,000 feet. I guess less than 5,000 feet isn't a data center
no,
or
it's
is?
a data.
For the purpose of the
for the
moratorium.
Moratorium.
Yeah, I know. It's
Yeah.
just gonna make this hole in our definitions.
No.
Well, the concern was that definition could easily apply to the servers down at town hall
Okay,
and prohibit, changing out a server or adding another server, as well as other small businesses.
well, I guess it's when we added 5,000 square feet that it became a problem, because it wouldn't,
No,
it's greater than 5,000 square feet.
That's a data center, and there's a moratorium on data centers greater than
I know,
5,000
but this
square
is
feet.
gonna be a,
So if we did
No,
not
this
install
is
that, it would
the
be any
moratorium.
size.
when we get the rules. No, I think when we get the rules of what a data center, when we're ready to present the rules, then we would probably change this.
okay, all right,
This is only,
okay.
This
So
is
this is gonna be
definition.
added to our zoning regs as 5,000 feet.
That is
for.
correct.
Okay, so I'm comfortable with that, I think, though I'm gonna wait to hear from Kevin whether 5,000 feet is good. But we'll see about that. So what does so because this is multiple contiguous locations. So does that mean physical land, or does it mean that these, like, could you take these things and link them virtually or by wire or something like that? What does that mean, multiple contiguous locations?
Locations, I would not be virtual. It would be physical locations.
So could you have one in this end of town and one at that end of town and one somewhere else, and they could be linked together? And then would that be multiple contiguous locations? Would be.
It's not
No,
contiguous.
it's not contiguous.
Yeah, exactly.
I think,
They already are
No, but if they're contiguous by, so just contiguous
physically.
physically, okay, all right, that's fine then, all right, one physical location or multiple contiguous locations. All right, and then So I'm gonna express my ignorance here, but what is a particular business classification or body of knowledge? What's a classification or body of, what are those words mean? It's
Classification of
all-
a business class,
I
particular
just need
business
to know.
classification. It's the type of business they use.
Okay. All right, just seems like a lot of language that is probably, just makes it,
Yeah.
I would prefer always definitions to be as concise as they could be. But,
Understood.
but anyway, that's it. I just,
That's why we have time.
the longer the definition, the more,
I agree.
just more confusing. Anyway,
So do you have any concerns?
I do have some concerns and questions. We have one definition for a data center, and the red line are the red underscored text.
That's correct. That's from the
Those are
application.
removed.
That's right. A new data center definition.
Then we have
Yes.
another data center definition in the black.
Draft motion.
No,
Draft
that's just
motion.
a draft motion. So if we pass the draft motion, at 5,000 square feet would be added
Right,
to that.
I understand, but
They're supposed to be. the
this
same.
document is not really on the agenda, that we're thinking of a 5,000 sort of limit on this.
No, that's true,
Uh-huh.
but that is in response to information you've gotten from the zoning official that was in the packet.
And the problem I have with this is I think we've not had time to communicate to the public. And in fact, we're thinking of having a definition for the $5,000 point here, yes or no data center, right?
No, it just means that we could have a small data center.
I understand that.
That's
But
what-
we haven't told anybody that. I don't think that this was news to me. And to me, the definition is long, it's complex. I don't understand it, right? I haven't had time to look at it or consult experts. And I think it's not really disclosed as it should be. I don't think in the public notice, the agenda and all. And so normally, I know years gone by when Mike Murphy was the planning director, you had to disclose everything at least 24 hours ahead of time. And it had to be posted on the door and all that good stuff. But
Mr. Chairman.
The subject is the same.
Yeah, I think if you look at it, it's almost word for word, except for the 5,000.
It is exactly identical to what we passed.
But that's the
Back in
problem I'm
April.
having. That's
That was what
yeah.
we passed in April,
right.
to say that's what the moratorium would state.
Okay, but my problem is the 5,000 because that brings up all kinds of different issues to me. And the fact the way, well, if it's like this and it is or it isn't in or out of the 5,000, it's very complicated. And I would have hoped going forward that the CEO would have been in here before tonight to discuss what he was thinking about.
Right.
In fact, we might have some problems if we went forward with what we were contemplating and say, I'm thinking about 5,000 as being the cutoff. We say, wow, that's very interesting. Now, why? And we could ask questions, we could get more information, all that sort of thing. If this CEO, zoning enforcement officer, as our agent is really going to see how things are working, I don't think it's a very good case. Okay, it is a good case for me. So anyway, that's my problem with this.
Address what his feelings
Yeah,
are.
we certainly, if we think all of a sudden we need a definition, and we need to come up with some square feet, let's do it. It's easy for us to, so we add that to the agenda. We're trying to think about 5,000, like 4,000, 10,000.
Well, I think,
So,
I just assumed you were thinking that if somebody wanted to put in small data center, they could do it. It's what this would allow.
yes, maybe so, but I'm not comfortable, but I understand what the right number is, right? And if this person's working with us, I would have thought we would have worked
5,000 feet is not a very big.
housing. It's all square
Well,
feet.
I don't know where you are. It's probably small. It's probably your garage or something.
But no, I
think it's
think,
about room about 50 feet by 50 feet.
I just think we ought to, it'd be good for my take on this, go with the more general definitions and this. In the motion instead of the more precise 5,000 square
You
feet.
ban everything.
And you would not have
But-
the ability for 12 months to put in a small data center, and I don't think anybody's concerned, like say the one we have in town hall.
So we couldn't,
All that.
in the 12 months, we couldn't come up with a definition. for a
No,
data
it's
center.
not the data center, it would be
No, I'm saying with a number on it.
in the,
If it's
yes,
a-
in the
if it's
12
a
months, we
problem.
can come up with it for
No, but say on
permanent.
month one, there's a problem. Somebody wants to put in 5 of these smaller data centers.
No, they can't. Why they
Well,
don't
say the
put one?
5,000, only one,
Oh, this is saying one person can put, or one facility can be,
right, but say you have
5,000.
5 people want to.
you mean
put in,
5 different
Yeah.
people?
right,
Well, I
5
don't know that that's a concern. I mean, we've had those all over the place, small ones. I think the concern is the big ones where you have to have a large generator, use a lot of cooling.
Yeah, I understand that, but I
That's what we're trying to
don't
address.
know if 5,000 is the right. at this point. And I haven't had that opportunity to talk with the or other industry people, their input. So I don't think I'm in a position to make a decision. That's my problem.
Wow.
This would
I
be
mean, it
just,
might be 6,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what, you know,
Well,
it could be,
this
we're
is-
just picking
Are
this
we
number.
having a discussion here among
Sorry.
ourselves or what? I
Sorry.
mean, come on.
That's
My
it.
apologies.
That's
all
my-
right,
that's my
Barbara,
concern.
I have no problem with the text amendment as it is. I do have questions about the 5,000 square feet and I would like
well,
to hear
that's
more.
part,
Yeah, I know.
well, that's what,
Well, I'm not against the moratorium is what I'm trying to
No,
say.
no, neither.
but that's part of, but no, but I mean, the problem is that's part,
It could be.
well, if we
That's
take,
as if it's amended.
no, if we
No,
take.
we have it, the text
I
here.
know that, but if we don't have it in there, that means nobody can put in
I
a small
understand
data
that.
center for 12 months,
I understand that.
if that's what we want to do.
I understand that.
Okay.
Everybody wants to hear from Kevin.
Well, that's what I was just saying.
So I just have one
Kevin's-
issue. So if you look at, I'll just say, the largest hyperscale data center I've been in, it's 1.1 million square feet. And if you take a look at a football field at, I don't know, the full length of it, including the 110 yards on either side, it's 57,600 square feet of my algorithms, right? So if you really look at that, it's 20 football fields long. Those are hyperscale floors. The only issue we have with a small data center is if you look at, which I'll talk about Boynton, Virginia tomorrow, which is one of the world's largest, is they have a structure, we used to call them T-packs, right? And what a T-pack is that they bring in trailers, right? Loaded with Xeon processors and servers and storage and everything else. And they plug them in on the side of their 1.1 million. They plow what we call T-packs or mobile data centers. And they take them and they put them into a piece of electric and they immediately get, an additional couple terabits of processing power. And I believe a trailer, which I don't know because I didn't look it up, is probably less than 5,000 square feet. So the question is, if someone has a piece of land and they brought in 20, what we call T-packs or mobile data centers, does this moratorium cover that? That's my only question, because they look like a tractor trailer. They're less than 5,000 square feet. And they sit on the side. If you look at some of the big hyperscale, you'll have 20 of these things lined up. So if we're looking at that, if someone came up with design that put in for a data center with each of these 4,000 square feet trailers, is that part of the moratorium or not? That's my only question here.
If there are 10 of them plugged in to an existing 10,000 square foot building, that would put them over, or existing 1,000 square foot building, that would put them over this. So if we
Right.
limit.
If the limit is one, if that's what we said, if the limit is one, then it's fine. I mean, a Coast Guard or something can come in with a regional node and say, listen, I have a mobile data center. I need to put that in. That's okay for the moment, right? We all agree. But my only point is, does this moratorium cover someone who brings in 10 separate T-packs?
Yeah, we can do.
Thank you. That's what I wanted. That's
do
fine.
one, right?
They can do.
They can do
one.
one, right? I'm good with that.
What was the answer to that?
The answer is that it's contiguous, so that you cannot come in with what we call 10 T-packs or mobile data centers and put them into their own plug-in electricity as we do. And that is therefore contiguous, and therefore it's not allowed as part of this moratorium. Sure.
What is that?
I think what Kevin says makes sense to me, given the text in the definition for data centers, and in just looking at Pizza Inglis's letter suggesting the 5,000. Because he had done research on a number of communities and found that 5,000 square feet is generally, anything over that is considered a data center.
I guess if there's someone come in and get a building permit, if they're gonna park a tractor trailer somewhere.
So they probably need an electrical permit.
And fiber optics, they need a lot, right? Usually it's circular.
No, I don't know. I just, that's a good, and when something's on wheels, right? It's-
Right.
Something
But
different.
there's an electrical component here. There's
Yes.
definitely
That's
an
right.
electrical
Required.
permit, building permit that would have to be.
They have to have zoning.
I just have a question. We talk about 5,000 square feet. We're talking about a one-story, what we consider a one-story, 5,000 square feet? Or do we need to talk about 2 stories, 3 stories, 5 stories? I don't know.
It's 5,000 square feet.
Yes,
of
it's
floor
5,000
space.
square feet. Even if it's 5,001 square foot stacked on top of each other, it's a total of 5,000 square feet. Has to be height, obviously.
I don't understand. I'm thinking cubic feet in that.
No, a
sense.
total of 5,000 square feet. It could be a 2-story, each story is 2,500, for a total of 5,000 square feet.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Okay, I understand that. Okay, I understand that.
It's not just
Got
the
it.
footprint. It's,
Okay,
Yeah.
could be a 5,000 one-story,
there you go.
2-story of 2,500 each.
5-story
Got it.
one.
Thank you.
Still limited by zoning,
Exactly.
so it can't be.
Got it.
Anything else, Kevin?
That's all.
Steve, do you?
Yeah, similar concerns about 5,000, if that's the right number, but certainly 100% in favor of as written. That's a good starting point.
If somebody came in over 5,000, then it's not a lot. We would not be able to accept.
Well, one question, what zone would this be allowed in?
That's for discussion tomorrow.
Another day.
Like, if we approve it,
No,
No, we will not take any application for a data center. Period.
anyway.
no, a small one, can a small one go in its zone? That's what I was talking
Well,
about.
he's defined
The
it
5,000, under 5,000.
right now.
Yeah, it's a case by case thing. Is it associated with an existing use that's allowed in the zone? I can't answer that question.
Well, he's
Yeah, noise
defined,
issues potentially.
he's
yeah.
defined a data center today would be the same as a telecommunication
Correct.
center. So if somebody came in with an application for a data center, 4,999 square feet, it would be looked at as a telecommunication center.
Not with this text change.
That's what I was.
That's not with this text change, because the other definition that is changing as a result of this is saying specifically that telecommunication
but the
facilities do not
question-
include data centers.
Well, then,
That's what I was asking. Now we don't have a definition for these.
yeah, but
things.
the definition, you can't put it in any zone
Yeah, yeah, we
Under
don't,
the moratorium.
of anything. You can't put in a 4,000 square foot data center. That's what you're telling me.
No, because we have defined what a data center is, made it clear that
Wow.
it is no longer a telecommunication facility.
So you defined it as
5,000
5,000
square feet. That was
Well,
my,
we have.
that was my concern.
And then,
Because what happens when you're under 5,000? We don't have a definition.
or where it can go.
Correct. So
We
if it's a standalone, it probably would not be allowed, but if it is
we
within an
can't,
existing
well, I-
building or business. then
well,
it
we
would.
don't have, if you read the zoning regs, if it doesn't
Yeah. it's
have
not
it
in
on the
there.
table, it wouldn't have a place in there. You can't put it in there. That's what it would say.
I think we need another definition for a mini data center or less than 5,000 square feet,
In
if we're
order
gonna
to-
have this one.
If you limit, yeah.
That was what I was
The
trying
table
to.
is, would have to be revised to say where you can put it.
Can we say in the moratorium that we're allowed to revise the definition? Say it in
That's
the
another
next week
text
or two.
amendment to do
That'd be
that.
another text.
It
amendment.
would, yeah, it would be another text amendment to do that.
Because it seems like there's a lot we don't know. We haven't even thought of everything here. It's just-
No, exactly right.
Right,
And
see
that's
the
what we're
payments.
trying to
Can
do.
we do this definition
yeah,
and then tomorrow have the moratorium for any data centers that are greater than 5,000 feet?
Well, I guess if we wanted to put one in, we'd have to have a change to the
so,
zoning.
I mean, your options here right now are to, adopt the application, the text amendment as it was proposed. Which is
Yes.
that one right there.
And then tomorrow. do a
Red or black?
The red or black?
Red or black?
The red, that's the application. If you want to just adopt it as written, that's fine.
Yeah, because maybe we can't do the black anyway. I mean,
But then we're going to get a big rush to make the change because you're right, that just stops everybody from doing everything.
from a data,
For data center that they need to do constantly.
yeah.
Can we do the moratorium on data centers larger than 5,000 feet?
Yes.
If
That's
you
what we're trying
define
to
a
do.
data center as.
Yes, but have the definition not include that number. I mean, this is just a definite, this is gonna go on our list of definitions, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the ban has to be based on the
Because
definition.
data centers
We don't have
aren't
that.
all just 5,000 feet and greater. This is like what do you call it, Kevin, when it's really big? Hyper, like can we have a definition for a hyper data
Yeah,
center? And then
okay, on your application, okay. Under section 11.1-2 uses, it says this moratorium is applicable to any data center as defined by these regulations. So this is where, if you want to say it is applicable to any data center that is greater than 5,000 square feet, that is where you put it.
okay, I think that makes
That's where to go.
the most sense, right?
Sure, that makes sense. And that is definitely something you can do with this tonight, rather than
Yeah.
withdrawing the application
Start
and
all
starting
over.
this all over again, and there's another 2 or 3 months.
Okay, so that's,
I think we want.
Okay.
and don't forget that period.
Just allowing any data center.
No.
Right?
No.
We're trying to ban the big ones.
The public is, the public is not allowed to speak to us at this time.
The microphone's a little closer to yourselves.
Yes. So what are you proposing to put? Remove the location of the 5,000 square feet.
So in the application, one of the changes to the text is to add a new section 11 moratorium. And to add 11.1, which is the temporary moratorium on data centers. So under that section, 11.1 uses, it says, this moratorium is applicable to any data center as defined by these regulations. And so what I'm suggesting here is that you change that and say this moratorium is applicable to any data center over 5,000 square feet.
It needs to be part of the motion, number 3.
Exactly.
Temporary moratorium on data centers greater than 5,000 square feet. would be the title.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, no, it gets confusing.
So you want to make a change to the type?
To this 11.1.
Oh, no, that's what, yeah,
And then we're gonna do this one then.
we do the red one where we just insert the 5,000 feet under uses. Or you want to change it up?
We're gonna go with this one.
So where's the motion?
And then we're gonna do this.
Any data center over 5,000
5,000.
as defined by that, you're right. And then when we go to data centers, we do anything
No, you leave everything else. the way it
If
was.
we're gonna have a conversation, can we have it so everyone can hear?
Exactly. So
No, what we're talking about was changing it.
You may be talking about, we all need to hear the conversation.
No.
Talk to the mic, please.
We're saying that, well, we haven't made the motion yet, so. But we could change 11.1-2, put the 5,000 feet in there. Rather than what it was on the black one.
So in the draft motion, you will not need to add the section that said the definition of data centers is amended to read. You do not need to add that to the motion. Because you have decided not to do that.
Right.
Okay.
But how is this going to help the data centers that are under, the 5,000 or under?
We're saying we're not going to have a moratorium on those.
Understand, but all of a sudden, they're not a telecommunication facility. And if you come in and you want to put one in,
Well, that says they're still a data center.
Yeah.
Therefore, they're not a
They're data
telecommunications.
center.
They're a data center.
what
But
still
we're-
says they're a data center? So, what still says they're a data center?
Now it
The
didn't
definition.
before. The definition now tells you that they're a data center. Previously, it didn't say that. So
Well,
it now
I'm
says they are not a telecommunications center.
Right, but I'm thinking more of the zone is going to go,
There's nothing in the table of permitted uses.
right. So I
It's
don't know if you have,
objects.
if you come in and you want to do a data center, what zone? do you put in? You don't know that, so you really make it almost impossible to do a small.
A new
data
one,
center.
you can't do a new one, but
No, a
otherwise,
small, a new, small.
right now you
data
couldn't,
center.
you couldn't.
I don't.
But you could at least keep working on the ones you got. And this would have stopped that too.
Repair, yeah. Well, that's a full repair.
One other thing I just want to point out, this text amendment will only apply to the town of Groton. It does not apply to the city of Groton. It does not apply to Noank. It does not apply to Groton Long Point.
Yeah, taking the.
ZB, no Pfizer. The heavy hitters, ZB and Pfizer. they're not
Right. What is EB? It uses CSC.
Yeah, up in Norwich.
In Norwich,
Yeah.
so they don't have any data center in Groton.
Well, they probably have
They
very
have-
small ones. They have servers there,
They
but,
have servers.
but no,
they
no
don't
true
have-
data center, right?
They
as
don't
I
have a
understand.
true data.
Pfizer does have a data center there, but they use a tremendous amount of cloud right now, so. Doesn't hurt them. Doesn't help, doesn't hurt them, same business model.
So that we can do the 5,000 in section 11.1-2. And the rest of the motion would stay the same.
That's correct.
If we do that, does anyone have a problem? with that?
Good solution.
So we're combining red and black.
Yeah, they're confused.
Security queen can put in its own data center.
Yeah. We can do artificial intelligence, machine learning.
That's what they want to do.
It's a eighth of an acre. An eighth of an acre. Just think about that.
So we'd have to, but we have to change the motion and to.
So what I would suggest that you do is after you read to approve the zoning text amendment and spell out 1, 2, and 3 is to specifically say section 11.1-2 is modified to read, and then put in the greater than 5,000 square feet in the appropriate spot.
Got it.
I'm just trying to think of the words. I mean, we can read, say, modify section 11.1-2 to read as follows, maybe it's the clearest way. I was just thinking to just apply it only to that. So I'll make a motion, then everybody stays alert to make sure that it makes sense, because we may want to amend it, but make a motion to approve zoning regulation text amendment application REGA 22-01 to 1, amend section 2.1 definitions to add a definition of data center, modify the definition of telecommunication facility. 2, add section 11 moratorium. 3, add section 11.1 temporary moratorium on data centers. And 4, revise section 11.1-2 uses to read this moratorium is applicable to any data center over 5,000 square feet as defined by these regulations. Definition of data center. Oops, no. So we won't say. I guess we just read data center. We don't have to put that in there, right? So we just go down to the Town of Groton Planning and Zoning Commission modifies and adopts zoning regulation text amendment, Reg 22-01. In order to allow adequate time to develop and adopt zoning regulations to address data centers pursuant the following findings and reasons for approval. 1, this amendment is consistent with the town's 2016 Plan of Conservation and Development, parent POCD, and the parent with particular regard to goals, objectives, and recommendations for the promotion of sustainable development patterns and the evaluation of current zones and development standards to determine if uses, setbacks, and other requirements are appropriate. 2, this amendment is consistent with the town's municipal coastal program in the CGS section 22A-90 through 22A-111, Parent Coastal Management Act, and the parent with particular regard for protecting coastal resources, protecting water quality, and carefully managing coastal development. 3, the zoning text amendment is made in accordance with a comprehensive plan for the town of Groton and provides for reasonable consideration of the environment and Long Island Sound in accordance with provisions of CGS 8-2. This text amendment shall become effective July 15, 2022. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Does anyone have any questions or concerns with the amendment? Yes, Barbara.
This includes 11.1-2 uses, is that correct?
Yes.
I'm going to be a grammar nerd on this. This moratorium is applicable to any data center as defined by these regulations that is over 5,000 square feet.
You want to make that as an amendment?
Yes. If we need to.
Well, how else do we made a motion?
Okay, I will amend the motion by changing the word.
I think we had a second, right? So- Oh, we didn't.
Wait, on the original motion? Yes, I believe Sue
Yeah,
second.
so we'd have to make an amendment. Okay. Does somebody want a second, or was
Well, the first and second has to do. It's okay.
oh, all right. Anyone have any concerns with the amendment?
Is that just for clearer English?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Always like things to be clear.
Things are muddy enough.
Oh. So we'll vote then on the motion to change for the
Amendment.
5,000, for the amendment. The amendment. Vote for the shifting of the words of 5,000 square feet. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? The amendment is carried. And then we'll go back to the main motion as amended. Is there any discussion on the motion as amended? And we'll vote on that. All those in favor of the motion as amended, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion as amended is carried. Unanimous.
Fresh air.
You want to take a 5-minute break?
I'll turn the air conditioning on.
We'll take a 5-minute break. Nothing is easy. Operator error. Okay, so I'll call the meeting back to order. We have our next big item, approval of minutes of previous meetings of May 24th, 2022 minutes. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of May 24th.
Moved in second. Does anyone have any corrections?
I did, but I don't know what they are. No corrections here. Let me look. Sorry. No, nothing.
Anybody? No corrections? Anybody? If we have none, then we'll vote on the motion to approve the minutes of May 24th, 2022. All those in favor say aye. 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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I would say. I don't have to, I know I don't have to, but.
Okay, a motion is carried. 4 in favor, 1 abstention. Which is so. You have to report that. Okay, public communications. Does anyone have any communications? Staff of them?
I do not.
None. Looks like the public has, okay. You don't have any on the board, right?
I do not see any hands raised.
All right. Okay, so we have no special permits, no subdivision, site plans, old business, new business. Do we have any new applications?
No.
No new referrals. Report of chair. I attended part-time on the Greenway Awards ceremony, which was noisy due to the Coast Guard flyover. They were doing landings and takeoff exercise, and the 2 Acellas went by. Nothing to really report there. It's interesting to listen to people from the state make a few statements over public, and Parks and Rec did a nice job of cleaning that area up. It's beautiful shape. Also attended the session they had for Rochester reuse, which was very few inputs from the public. And Hal was there, several town councils. were there. But I think,
Take it some.
but but it sort of addressed an issue that we, in the P O C D, we've defined that area, I think, as government sort of center, but there's no plan, overall plan that maybe we've got to think about trying to get somebody to set a plan up and what do we do with that and the Rich Junior property, which is right across the street, really get them all integrated. Rather than just do a hit and miss and try to identify it to the public.
And plus there's available land in that
Right.
area.
No, it is.
Commercial property.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
No, there is.
One-time opportunity.
And
And also
There is.
even the other side of the senior center, or I'm sorry.
Yes,
Drive 55
there's-
and then you say-
What?
My apologies. But yeah, north of there was 6 acres. For a
Yeah.
swimming pool.
And I had a little brief conversation with Diane on yesterday morning, walking back from the railroad station. She was rocking across the bridge at the same time I was.
Oh, yeah,
And she looks like she's doing well.
great.
Enjoying her retirement.
Sure she is.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anyone complain.
I'm just surprised to see her. Okay, tomorrow night, we have our big meeting, workshop session. Starts at 6 o'clock, 1800. And it's in the big room, right?
Next door.
Next door, in the council chamber.
6.
6
Oh, I
o'clock.
thought it was 4 o'clock.
Oh,
Glad you said,
huh?
glad you said that. Here, 2 hours. in.
1800.
I will be attending,
So,
because my wife,
little hand on the
that
6
seems to
and
be a better
the
thing.
12.
Thank you.
From
She'll be
Marines.
here too.
All right.
Really?
Yeah.
What a date.
She's all right.
I had a couple of things. So my family attended the Blue Heritage Trail kickoff. It was a week ago, last Wednesday. And the Blue Heritage Trail is a plan that's being implemented by the Connecticut Parks Commission, DEP, Connecticut Sea Grant, the Thames River Heritage Park, and Yukon Avery Point. And they're putting up signs right now at Bluff Point, Fort Griswold, Sub Base, and at Avery Point, which are going to start making walking, driving, and boat tours. Kind of like not doing those things, but giving people, it's going to be online, like if you wanted. They had one they were trying to do in the Pocahontas Cove, where you could go online and then it's all based on maritime heritage for Connecticut. So it's a big focus in Groton. So it seemed like it was pretty good. There was a thing in the paper this morning. I don't know if anybody saw it, but that. Anybody's interested, if you see a sign down at Bluff Point, and then I had this too, which I thought was interesting. This was back in December, it's sitting on my desk, and maybe because we had that conversation about affordable housing. This article is about Princeton, New Jersey, and they have implemented accessory housing, and they're actually allowing them to be like condominiums. So you can sell them. And I don't know if anybody's, Princeton, New Jersey is like super expensive. So this is how they're dealing with it in one way, but it was interesting. You can build an accessory building. I mean, there's a picture of one right there.
Yeah.
So you can build an accessory building, but then it's sold as a condominium.
Oh, okay. You can treat it as.
Yeah, and a separate owner, or you could rent it, suppose.
You build one.
It looks like they have one here in this picture, You if people want to look at the article, you're welcome to it. It's been sitting on my desk since December. I should have brought it in when we had the conversation. Sometimes things go over my head. You want to look at it?
I'm okay, I'll look at it.
Yeah, okay. It's December 12th. What? Recycle. Thanks. That's it. Sometimes I see these things and it's.
Anyone have anything else? The staff have any Into report. We have our applications and ASP reports that are attached to the agenda. So, yeah.
There's the new Rogers development addition that's coming. Well, that's not what we already approved something, so they're doing something completely different.
Yes, you approved a conversion of the existing building. This application are a couple of new buildings.
They're knocked down the issue.
No, they're not.
Oh, it's not just a
A lot of land there, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot.
It's 11
Where
acres.
is this the plot by John?
It's the old massage therapy school.
Oh,
In the corner, yeah.
Oh, boy.
So they're gonna redo the parking area then, you know, put another
We're
building.
gonna get those bike
Right,
racks
they're
in.
proposing a mixed use building, which will be right on the road in the parking area. And then another townhouse apartments further in the back with new parking.
Yes.
Oh, so they're really developed. That area is pretty big.
It's 11 acres, although most of it is wet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it goes along, the other road. that goes-
Weddington.
Weddington, too.
They're still in wetland permitting at this point. Yes, it is. We still have frontage there.
So are they gonna take down all the rock?
That is not part of the proposal, no.
Oh, I saw them, they're working on it. Somebody bought the property next to Fort Rachel.
Yeah.
And I went down there the other day. And they chipped away half the rocks. Somewhere Fort Rachel is the highest point. And I don't know exactly where it is. On that
At the
ledge.
top of the rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the very peak, but it's sort of to the south of there. They really chopped it down. They're all chopped up into small pieces, destroyed the place. Surprised the historic commission.
Maybe we should close the meeting on that.
Yeah,
Yes, I think so. Does anyone, if no one has anything else, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
second.
Moved in second.